70 degrees below 0 Celsius. At that temperature, exposed human skin freezes solid in under 2 minutes. Steel becomes brittle and shatters like glass. Rubber turns rigid. Carbon dioxide, the gas we exhale, freezes into dry ice. This is the temperature where chemistry itself begins to slow down, where molecular movement approaches a crawl. No mammal should survive this. No insect, no complex life of any kind. The human body begins shutting down at -40 degrees. Even polar bears, with their dense fur and thick fat, need shelter at -50. And yet, deep in the Arctic tundra, beneath layers of permafrost, something is waiting, not hiding, not barely clinging to survival. Something that doesn't just endure these conditions, it thrives in them. This isn't about thick fur or finding shelter or hibernating in warm caves. This is about rewriting the fundamental rules of what a living thing can be. Meet the wood frog, Rana sylvatica. Small, unremarkable, barely 3 inches long. Found in forests across North America, from the swamps of Georgia to the tundra beyond the Arctic Circle. During summer, it behaves like any other frog-hunting insects, avoiding predators, living in ponds and wetlands. Its brown, mottled skin blends perfectly with leaf litter. But when autumn arrives in the northern reaches of its range, when temperatures begin their relentless descent toward winter, this ordinary amphibian does something extraordinary. As the first hard frosts arrive, the wood frog doesn't migrate south like birds, doesn't burrow deep underground where geothermal heat persists like other hibernating animals. Instead, it settles beneath a thin layer of leaf litter, sometimes just an inch of organic debris, and waits for what's coming next. What happens next defies everything we know about vertebrate physiology. Ice begins to form on the frog's skin. Within hours, ice crystals spread through its body cavity surrounding its organs. Its heart stops beating. Blood flow ceases completely. Breathing stops. By every medical definition, the wood frog is dead. Up to 70% of its body water turns to solid ice. The frog becomes a small, frozen sculpture beneath the snow, and it stays that way for weeks, sometimes months. Here's the problem with freezing, the reason it kills. When water becomes ice, it expands by about 9%. Those expanding ice crystals don't just grow larger, they grow sharp, jagged edges. At the cellular level, these crystals become microscopic spheres that puncture cell membranes like thousands of tiny knives. Cells burst, their contents spill out. Proteins denature, their complex folded structures unravel and become useless. Mitochondria, the power plants of cells, shatter. DNA can fragment. This is why frostbite destroys tissue permanently. Why organs donated for transplants must be kept just above freezing, never frozen. Why frozen organs can't be revived. The damage is absolute. Every frozen animal should be a dead animal. Evolution doesn't offer second chances to frozen corpses. But the wood frog survives because it doesn't fight the ice. It choreographs where and how ice forms in its body. As temperatures drop and ice first touches the frog's skin, specialized proteins detect the change. The frog's liver goes into overdrive. It begins producing massive amounts of glucoses, blood sugar rates that would trigger diabetic shock in any other vertebrate. Not for energy, not for metabolism, for protection. Glucose floods the bloodstream, saturating every cell in concentrations up to 200 times normal levels. Concentrations that would be acutely toxic to most animals. This sugar acts as a cryoprotect, a biological antifreeze. But unlike the antifreeze in a car radiator, glucose doesn't prevent freezing entirely. Instead, it prevents ice crystals from forming inside cells, where they would cause catastrophic damage. Ice still forms in the frog's body, but only in specific controlled locations, between cells, in body cavities, in blood vessels and extracellular spaces, never inside cells, where ice would shred the delicate organelles that keep cells alive. The frog's cells remain intact, each one suspended in a concentrated glucose solution, protected within their frozen shell like seeds in ice. This isn't just tolerance. This is precision engineering by natural selection. Then spring arrives. Warming begins from the inside out. The heart thaws first, followed by internal organs. Within hours, electrical signals restart. The heart begins to beat weakly at first, then stronger. Blood, thick with glucose, begins to flow. The brain reactivates. Within 24 hours, the frog is moving again, searching for water, hunting, calling for mates, as if death never happened. This adaptation allows wood frogs to survive in environments where winter temperatures regularly drop to -30, sometimes -40 degrees Celsius. But that's not the limit of cold tolerance in nature. Not even close. Antarctica, the coldest, driest continent on Earth. Average winter temperatures, -60 degrees Celsius. Temperatures routinely fall below -70. The coldest ever recorded on Earth's surface, -93.2 degrees. At those temperatures, carbon dioxide freezes out of the air. Breath crystallizes instantly. Nothing complex survives here, right? Wrong. Meet Belgica Antarctic midge, the only true insect native to the Antarctic continent. Small, flightless, barely half a centimeter long. Adults live only 7 to 10 days, but the larvae can survive conditions that would annihilate nearly every other complex organism on the planet. These larvae spend 2 full years developing in frozen soil and moss. 2 Antarctic winters. They face temperature swings from -35 degrees Celsius in winter to barely above freezing in summer. Their bodies contain specialized proteins, heat shock proteins, and ice-binding proteins that control crystal formation at the molecular level. They produce glycerol and other cryoprotectants that lower the freezing point of their bodily fluids to -17 degrees Celsius. But evolution equipped them with something even more extreme. When conditions become too extreme, when cold exceeds even their considerable tolerance, Antarctic midge larvae dehydrate. They expel water from their bodies, reducing moisture content to less than 35% of normal levels. This is called cryoprotective dehydration. Without water, there's nothing to freeze, no ice crystals to form. The larvae enter a state of profound dormancy, their metabolism slowing to nearly undetectable levels. In laboratory conditions, these insects have survived exposure to -70 degrees Celsius. Some studies suggest they can endure even lower temperatures, approaching the limits of what multicellular life can withstand. But there's one organism that makes even the Antarctic midge look fragile. An organism so resilient it has survived in the vacuum of space, been subjected to radiation levels thousands of times higher than what would kill a human, And yes, temperatures approaching absolute zero. The tardigrade, also called water bears, tardigrades are microscopic animals found in moss, lichen, soil, and marine sediments worldwide. Under a microscope, they look almost comical. 8 stubby legs, a plump, segmented body, moving with a lumbering gait that earned them their nickname. In normal conditions, tardigrades eat bacteria, algae, plant cells. They mate, reproduce, live active lives measured in months or years. But when conditions deteriorate, when water disappears, when temperatures plummet, when radiation spikes, tardigrades do something no other animal can do. They stop being alive. Not dead, not dormant. Something in between. The process is called cryptobiosis. The tardigrade retracts its legs and head, forming a tight barrel shape called a tun. It expels nearly all water from its body, 97% of its moisture content. Metabolism ceases. No breathing, no eating. No cellular processes. The tardigrade replaces lost water with a sugar called tree halo, which forms a glass-like matrix around proteins and cell structures, preserving them in perfect stasis. In this state, tardigrades have survived temperatures of -272 degrees Celsius, just 1 degree above absolute zero. The vacuum of space for 10 days. Radiation doses of 5,000 to 6,000 grays, more than 1,000 times the lethal dose for humans. Pressures 6 times greater than the deepest ocean trenches. And they don't just survive these conditions, they wake up. Add water and the tun begins to swell. Within hours, the tardigrade rehydrates. Legs emerge. Movement resumes. Cellular processes restart as if no time has passed. Some tardigrades have been revived after more than 30 years in cryptobiosis. This isn't survival through resistance. This is survival through transformation, becoming something that exists beyond the normal boundaries of life and death. These organisms, wood frogs, Antarctic midges, tardigrades aren't related. They evolved their cold tolerance independently, through completely different mechanisms. But they all converge on the same fundamental strategy, controlling water and ice at the cellular level. Because extreme cold isn't just about temperature. It's about what temperature does to the most essential molecule for life, water. In environments where cold should mean extinction, these species found ways to persist. Not through shelter or migration or behavioral adaptation, but through chemistry. Through proteins that prevent ice nucleation. Through sugars that protect cellular machinery. Through dehydration so complete that freezing becomes impossible. They prove that the limits of survival aren't fixed. That evolution, given enough time and pressure, can solve problems that seem insurmountable. The wood frog will freeze solid again next winter. Its heart will stop. Ice will claim its body. And in spring, it will wake. The Antarctic midge larvae are frozen right now, beneath rocks on the coldest continent, waiting for summer that may be months away. The tardigrades are everywhere. In your garden, on your roof, in moss, on trees, waiting, ready to shut down completely and survive conditions that would obliterate almost every other form of life. We built machines to explore the coldest places on Earth, but life was already there, not conquering the cold, becoming part of it.